all in our 20s, so we have the audacity to be like, that doesn't look that hard. Like, let's do it.
That's
and
fine.
So,
I'll figure it out.
and I think that's so important because had I known exactly every single thing that would go into it, I might have been too scared.
Welcome to Nerdlandia.
Welcome to Nerdlandia, where we climb to new heights together. I'm your host, Emily Case Buskirk. Today's guest is Wendy. She's the owner of MW Climbing, along with her spouse, Matt. We talk about cultivating a welcoming climbing community in eastern Nebraska, some of the DIY projects it took to build the gym, and the similarities between bouldering and cycling. Wendy, thank you so much for joining. I am so stoked to talk to you today.
I'm really glad to be here too, Emily. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. I saw that your bio includes the words Midwestern climbing nerd, which I love, and you're also a scientist. So how do you see climbing and science overlapping in your life?
Well, as scientists, Matt and I have had academia as a huge part of our lives from grad school. We met during grad school. He did his program in chemistry, and I did mine in neuroscience and statistics. And so we both ended up being professors after that before opening the gym. But science has been a huge part of our lives in climbing because, as researchers, I feel like we're really honed in on trying to solve a very niche problem within a topic. And so we're just really honed in about okay, well, how do we find, solutions for this problem, or how do we attack this problem in a research setting? And I feel like that naturally translates so well to climbing, because in climbing, ideally, if you were in a situation where it was do or die, you would just figure out the easiest way to get up over the rock and get away from danger or whatever. But the goal of climbing is to kind of try to find ways to challenge yourself to get up to the wall. And so sometimes it may not be the easiest way, like walking around the rock or something like that. And so trying to figure out, okay, well, if I do, my hand first and then adjust my foot, does that help me get up? And what's really great about it is that you do a lot of trial and error, just like you do in science. And so you have the trial and error, you adjust your approach, and all you can think about is how to solve this problem. So any kind of stress from the day, anything you're thinking about, whether it's you have a test on Friday, or you have a pile of laundry at home, for better or for worse, your stresses are kind of out when you're climbing, because the only thing you're focused on is the wall, the next move, how to get past this problem. And so in climbing, when we call different climbs problems, it really makes sense. It's like, have you solved the problem yet? Have you climbed this problem before? So yeah, it's kind of cool to see that overlap.
Oh, totally. And actually, coincidentally, in my last main season conversation, at the very end when we're doing current favorites, Rob was talking about how he just tried MW climbing. And so it was kind of an awesome, coincidental transition into this conversation. And he mentioned you just get honed in, and it's I don't know. I think there is kind of a piece to something that it's you just have all your focus on that in this world that always has distractions and everything else. So yeah, 100% on everything you were saying there. What school did you and Matt go to then?
We both went to UNL. I went to UNL for my undergrad degree, and then I stayed for grad school and worked with my same advisor. We focused primarily on substance use and misuse, and figuring out how different behavioral and biochemical pathways interacted to generate certain types of behaviors and hopefully find ways to dissuade addictive behavior. It was always a combination. So it was always okay, what kind of behavioral tasks can we implement to maybe reduce cravings or things like that? And also, how do pharmacological aspects assist in this, or, change the way our brains behave too. So, and then Matt was primarily focused on developing stroke medication. So, the first few hours after a stroke is very important to reduce brain damage. So whatever you can do during that period of time. And so he was developing different pharmaceutical agents to try and reduce brain inflammation and damage on that little. Both of us, we just really loved research, and he's still teaching at Doan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What was your introduction to climbing like?
I was forced into it, actually. So I lost a bet my freshman year of
Oh my
college.
gosh.
I don't even know what the bet was. I wish I did because I think it would have a better story. But I
You
lost a
just like,
bet.
yeah, just brain hold it.
Yeah, it might have been like who got the better score on a test or something like that.
Okay,
But
okay.
I honestly don't remember. And so my end of the deal when I lost was I had to go climbing with them and try it out for the first time. And I was terrified of heights all my life. I was never an athlete, never did team sports. And I tried every excuse, like, oh, the weather's kind of bad, or oh, it's kind of busy at the gym right now, and trying to like prolong. And maybe they would forget. So they did, and they're very persistent. They're like, nope, we gotta go. Today's the day. And so we went to the university wall and climbed, and it wasn't an instant love. I think like some people are like, oh my gosh, like I tried it, I loved it, never looked back. I was still scared. Like I was so terrified of heights that it it was a terrifying experience. But being my freshman year college, being away from home and trying to like find who I was without like all my like childhood stuff around me, I came into college thinking, I'm going to try and get out of my comfort zone. And so I really pushed myself to be like, all right, this is scary, but let's try it for a little bit. And honestly, I'm so glad I did because like many climbers like experiences, like it gave me so much confidence, like more than I've ever imagined that could happen. I started feeling very strong and I started feeling, if I can do this really scary thing that, I never thought I would even try, what else can I do? So like whatever it was that kind of made me nervous, public speaking or tackling problems, I'd be like, you know what? I will try this and then we'll see where it goes. And I think that little bit of like getting started really helped with like gaining the confidence in those other areas to not just do climbing.
Yeah, that climbing wall was also my introduction. But at the time, I couldn't make it a regular habit because it was on the UNO campus and just like weird parking situation. And I too am terrified of heights. So I think in some ways, bouldering was like a little bit better. Yeah, I think there is something kind of like visceral and like overcoming that fear. And I do think that a lot of people do experience a lot of confidence building, like myself included, when you actually like face that and overcome it. It's really, I think, unique compared to a lot of other hobbies or activities that I've tried.
You can make whatever you want out of it. If you want to make it a competitive experience, you can. If you want to make it a solo experience, you can. And I think that versatility really makes it appealing to a lot of different people with different stages of what they want. After first few sessions, then I never looked back and was like, I love this. I love how it's making me feel. I love the community that I'm in. I love the confidence and strength I'm building. It was just such a great experience and continues to be.
Yeah. And I'm definitely curious to get more of your backstory on how you were able to build MW Climbing pretty much literally from the ground up. It sounds like it grew right out of your garage. Yeah, take us through that. Like, what are the DIY projects you had to do? Like, what was that process like?
Um, it was little by little. My husband is more of the risk taker, the dreamer. He's more big picture. He loves hitting the ground running like that. I'm more analytical, a little bit more cautious. I need to know the details. And I think that's why we paired so well and why we work so well together.
For sure.
So yeah, we started in a storage unit. We lived in an apartment, so we didn't have a garage. So we rented out a storage unit every month um, and built a little home wall inside. And, we had our friends come, and for years, that home wall was, just the place where people can hang out. And we would climb through the nights, through the cold. It had no electricity. So, like, we had to bring like heaters and like, all that. So But it was really
That's
fun. We
amazing.
got to experiment a little bit with, like, how do you do this? And then, like, once it was built, it was like, "Oh," it gave me confidence, like, "This can happen." And then over time, we built, home walls for other places. We probably built a total of 7 or 8 home walls before we started building
Oh, wow.
the gym. I've always loved learning. I'm a huge hobbyist.
Mhm.
My friends always
Mhm.
say I like to jump hobbies a lot, and so this was a very natural, like, jump too. I think we were all in our 20s, so we had the audacity to be like, "That doesn't look that hard,
Mhm.
like, let's do it."
That's
And so
fine. I'll figure it out.
and I think that's so important because had I had, like, known exactly every single thing that would go into it, I might have been too scared to even, like, jump
Oh,
in.
totally. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we learned woodworking. I used the university's innovation campus where they teach you how to
Oh,
do
yeah.
woodworking, metalworking, embroidery,
Mhm.
laser cutting, all this other stuff. And so I gained so many skills from that place specifically. And then
Mhm.
we built the walls and we got everything certified by structural engineers. And so, like, we weren't just freehanding it or anything like that, but
Right.
yeah, we designed the walls, we got it certified, we started building stuff, and so we built
Uh-huh.
the whole gym ground up. I had to learn sewing.
Dang.
I don't particularly enjoy it anymore, but I have actually taught recently some people how to hem their pants and stuff.
Nice.
Like, it was a lot cheaper, and we had a small amount of money that we could invest because we were splitting rent 4 ways, and our rent was so cheap that we were well,
Mm.
my husband was able to save money because he had his full-time job at that time.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was still a grad student. But yeah, so we started it with our own money. We built it from the ground up, and it worked. We had all these logistics, all these plans, a lot of troubleshooting, things that I didn't expect, none of us expected. But yeah, it was really, really fun. We learned so much and made a lot of cool things along the way.
It's always so cool to see the, like, behind the scenes of all the different little components, and it's kind of mind-blowing to think about that. So, yeah, it's amazing that you were able to just figure that all out and just build on that and go from there, so
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of it's the audacity of the youth and just like it's just like that doesn't look that hard, like how hard and like don't get me wrong, there were things that we built initially. So I built a bench. That bench was not for sitting. That's like it was an art piece, but like there were things that I had, been testing when I was early into woodworking of just like trial and error. And
Mhm.
I made this little
Mhm.
storage cart to move plywood around. As soon as I put like the first 10 pieces of plywood, which is very heavy, it like collapsed. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, let's like go back and rethink this. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of trial and error, and we put all of that time in before the gym was built. So
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned that you're, very analytical. So I don't know. My assumption would be that that translates into your climbing style. But how would you describe like how you approach a problem on the wall?
it's changed over the years a lot. I think at the
Hmm.
beginning, I've been climbing for 10 years now, and the beginning,
Oh,
I feel
wow.
like, yeah, I. I think I was very focused on just like making it to the top at whatever means necessary, including contorting my
Yes.
body, including making probably not the smartest choices. So, like, not warming up, for example, did not care about that. I
Mm.
was just like, I need to start fresh and go running into it. Again, like, I never did team sports. I never had, like, learned these things beforehand. And so
Yeah.
I kind of was just young. And if I got injured or bruised, like, it healed in a day, and let's just go back and do it
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
And so I now am like, we gotta warm up, we gotta feel good, we gotta, do all of the movement exercises, all the body, like warming up, full body, and read the route. And I am a very classic climber, I would say. Like, I like to
Hmm.
do more static, like not jumpy
Hmm.
routes. I
Yeah.
like very finger intensive routes that are tiny holds and that sort of
Hmm.
movement. I like to think of myself like as an iguana, like just like slowly making the way up.
Love that.
But like as a setter and as trying to give like diverse options of climbs, I've been training myself to get out of my comfort zone and learn how to do jumps, learn how to do all these other things too, just to be more
Yeah.
well-rounded. But yeah, I most of my sets are all about, are you having fun? I want to do
Yes.
something where it's goofy, and when people look at it, they're like, "What's that?" Like, and then like gravitate towards it, be like, yeah, it's just goofy, right? I think those
Yeah.
are the most fun climbs that, like, when you get off the wall, you're like, that was so funny. And yeah, that's kind of my goal, is to make climbing really fun. And
I love that. And I love the image of the iguana too. You also mentioned like just that you've never had any experiences like being on a team or anything. And I feel like MW Climbing does a really great job of like one, community building, but two, like having these teams and like rec leagues and stuff like that too. That's something that's awesome because in some ways climbing is individual obviously, but I think it is like the community support, sometimes even solving problems together or getting encouragement and tips from teammates or friends. That's what makes all the difference too.
it really is. Yeah. I mean, like, I learned a lot of my team management, leadership skills through grad school.
Mhm.
And it was something that I wasn't expecting to learn. I think, like, whenever I got into research, I was like, okay, so like I'm gonna research my area really well. I'm gonna write papers. I'm gonna, do the science. But I think that I was so caught off guard about, like, oh, I have to learn, interpersonal skills, which is very
Mhm.
obvious, I think, to anybody who has worked in any capacity for a while. But like, this was coming straight out of undergrad, and like I didn't really
Oh,
have,
totally.
yeah, I had like a part-time job at the library,
Mhm.
but I never had to really work in a team in a
Yeah.
setting. And so learning how to train people, learning my leadership style, I got all of the trial and error and stuff, I think, out during that period, that I felt very confident going into MW climbing, what kind of team I wanted, how I wanted to lead, how I wanted other folks to lead, and how to bring inclusivity to the space. And so
Totally.
I really love our entire team. It's really great. They're amazing people, and I can't have done any of this without them. Like the youth teams you mentioned, that's all Rihanna Hiron's
Mm.
doing. She built the youth programs team ground up, and like I said, we were all
Wow.
20 somethings at this time, freshly babies. And so
Uh-huh.
she developed the programming curriculum. She developed, the programs themselves, so like the different teams. And as we grew, we added more amazing people who also added significant contributions to the team. And so
Mhm.
everything is our entire team. It was a team effort to do all of this. And so I'm really proud of everybody who's worked on it, and I'm so grateful to have such a great team.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned inclusivity, so I did want to make a point to listeners that I feel like MW Climbing does an amazing job of consciously making it a welcoming space for everyone. There's some sports that can feel a little awkward. And even for me approaching some sports as a woman, it's like it feels a little unwelcoming at times. So I definitely appreciate that and those efforts as well. But yeah, my next question was just kind of building on that with the climbing community itself, because you mentioned that you've been, climbing for 10 years now. So how have you seen the climbing community like grow here in Eastern Nebraska in that time?
It's grown a lot, and
Mm.
I like to think that we've made such a positive impact on it. Like, one of the main things that I wanted when we started Lincoln's first location was that I wanted it to be a space that everybody felt welcome, regardless of gender and height and experience and
Yeah.
ability, body types, no matter where you are in whatever exercise goals or things like that. Like, I wanted you to feel welcome. I wanted you to feel as confident as possible. Like, going into any specific area, especially a gym, is a vulnerable
Hmm.
experience. Like, you're
Yeah.
put in this area where, like, in climbing, a lot of climbing is falling, because if you could just climb everything to the top the first time, it probably wouldn't be as fun. But like, inevitably, falling is part of that, and it's very vulnerable to
Mhm.
allow other people to watch you fall and like be in that
Yeah.
space. And so I wanted it to be a space where everybody felt welcomed. And I, in particular, it's a male dominated sport, and it still is, and even more so when I was growing up. I remember when I was doing
Yeah.
climbing competitions, oftentimes I was the only female there in the advanced category, and sometimes I would win by default. And I was like, well, I'll take it. I'll take the I'll take the gold medal. But honestly,
Yeah.
it was kind of weird, because there were not a lot of women in the sport at the time, in this area. And I would hear a lot of disparaging comments as intended jokes that didn't land, usually gender specific, like, oh, she can only climb that because XYZ, or, things like that. And so I was met with a lot of those types of comments when I first started climbing, especially bouldering. And
Yeah.
I think the intentions were not always negative, but the impact was there, where it was like, wow, I feel not great. And so I wanted to
Yeah.
change all of that. I was like, this is female run. We have, I don't think it's the case in the anymore, which is fantastic, but we were the first gym to have such a high percentage of women in the setting team. So
That's
we have
awesome.
over 50% of our setters are women, and we have different heights and stuff for our setters, different abilities, different climbing
Yes.
levels. It was intentionally designed so that everybody could feel represented and have input on things. So it's like, oh, this is very tall, very reachy. Let's make it so a way that it's difficult and as equitable as possible across all heights. Obviously, that can be very hard to do, but like, let's challenge ourselves to see if we can do it,
Yeah.
and continue to improve that skill. Our 50% of our admin team, over 50, is women as well. And we aim for inclusivity. We aim for making people feel welcome, regardless of what you're going through, what your background is. Inclusivity is such a central thesis to our business. And so, yeah, making people feel welcome, making people feel able to be vulnerable and try the sport.
And a good variety of difficulty levels too, because for me, approaching it as a newbie and somebody who doesn't have like the longest wingspan, or like I'm not the tallest, it is really like rewarding and fun to like still figure out ways to figure it out, even if like my taller and reachier friends can get some of those easier than I could. So that was one thing that like emerged for me that I really appreciated, was like, okay, we can still all like celebrate our own like climbing styles and our individual strengths that we have. Because I mean, you mentioned smaller holds and stuff, and that's something that I definitely excelled at. Yeah, it was just always so fun to like discover all those different little things and figure things out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, climbing was like one of my favorite hobbies. And then I kind of pivoted more into cycling. And I also saw that you've done gravel worlds before. So do you see any intersection between climbing and cycling? Do you think they're complementary?
Absolutely. So yeah, I love cycling. I primarily do gravel cycling, and I got my husband
Mm,
into it and my brother's into it.
heck yeah.
What's really cool, yeah, what's really cool about cycling is that, and like climbing, is that the entry point, it's pretty low. So like, in cycling, you can go at your own pace, and it feels like you're doing a lot because you get to see a lot of, like, I guess, in comparison to running, sometimes running for me
Yes.
felt a little harder because I was seeing the same tree for 20 minutes and running towards
Yeah.
it. But cycling, you get to like
Absolutely.
see more, you get to feel like you're, traveling more, which you are, and you can do it at your own pace, and you can ramp
Yeah.
it up if you want to, you can be competitive if you want to, you can make it more
Hmm.
an individualized goal, personal goals for yourself. And so
Hmm. Hmm.
I think in that aspect, it's a lot like climbing, where you can be where you're at, and you're met wherever you're at, and you can decide what you want to make out of
Definitely.
it. And it's really cool because it could be something that you really push yourself on as well. And
Hmm.
yeah, I love cycling. As the weather's getting nicer, I'm going cycling a lot
Oh,
more
yes.
often. And it's also one of those things where it's like, it clears your mind. I love
Hmm.
just being outside and seeing the greenery, and I think that's really great for your mental health and just exercising in general. Great activities, great sport, highly recommend. So cycling, climbing, fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think climbing is more like full body, but cycling does have, even though it's like primarily, leg workout, you still need like some upper body strength, especially if you're going on longer rides.
Yeah,
I think mentally, I see a little bit of overlap because even though it's kind of in different ways, they both sort of have the meditative quality. So yeah, I think that's why I kind of love both of those. Even though it's physical, there's like a lot of mental to it that people might not realize if they haven't like tried it out yet. And I don't know, it's just such a joyful experience.
is there a type of cycling you gravitate towards?
I mean, definitely gravel is my fave because I have a gravel bike. Most frequently, I mean, it's, bike commutes. And I mean, now I'm training for some summer events. My husband and I are going to do Ragbri this year. That's like kind of different from the style that I prefer, but we have a couple friends we're doing it with. Week long bike party. Like, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's, like, the community aspect of things, like, with
Oh,
with
yeah,
cycling, with climbing, a lot of these sorts of activities are so community driven, and it's so much more fun when
totally.
you have awesome people with you. I know, like, Omaha and Lincoln do things like taco rides and stuff like that, where it's casual.
Yes,
You can get tacos afterwards or ice cream bike rides or stuff like that,
exactly.
So it's just like a fun, physical activity, but it's also a social activity.
Oh, yeah, yeah, totally agree. So another thing I want to talk about is the MW Climbing Omaha expansion. Like you guys are just killing it. So, yeah, walk us through that. It seems like bigger, more offerings. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the next step after I think it was about a year and a half after after Lincoln was open and doing well. We decided to open location in Omaha, and it was really exciting, really scary at the same time, but also in a good way. Like we had this like nervous excitement energy where we were bringing climbing to more folks and expanding that. It's three times the physical building size of Lincoln. So Lincoln's about 7,500 square feet. Omaha is 24,000 square feet. And
Mhm.
it's just more. And we learned so many things from building the first space that the second space is even more grand and beautiful. And like so we learned what we wanted, what we didn't want as well. And
Yeah,
like wall angles and space wise, we've got a cafe that we built in. So I learned one of my hobbies. Like I said, I'm a hobbyist. I got really, really into baristaing. I'd never been a barista before, so like I
nice.
learn how to dial in and probably drink way too much espresso during that time. We have a full fitness room, a dedicated fitness room with weights and cardio
Nice.
equipment, and
Mhm.
that's really fun to have like its own dedicated space. And yoga, so like we have our own yoga studio, which we have yoga 5 days a week, including right now one of our
Whoa,
instructors is teaching a yoga class right now.
amazing.
But yeah, so we have a lot more to offer in terms of climbing and in terms of just like other physical activity and community gathering spaces. So yeah, it's been really, really fun to see us grow and meet more people and get involved with the
Mhm.
community because as small business owners and local business owners, we are so invested in this community. Like we live here. We want this place to be where we want to live. And
Totally.
so we love, bringing in more things that we enjoy and sharing it with other people too. So it's been a really exciting
Yes.
venture and not as scary as the first one, which is weird.
Yes, I have to admit, I don't get out to Omaha very often, as most Lincoln people will fess up to. So I haven't gotten to try it out yet, but I'm so excited to. And another comment I wanted to make, kind of in a similar vein, is that I think a lot of people are surprised that like biking would be so fun here, and like even though there's climbing, even though it's like indoor climbing, we don't have mountains, obviously, but we do have some pretty amazing hills for cycling. So I always want to remind people of that, and especially eastern Nebraska, northern parts of Nebraska. It does have some really awesome rec opportunities there.
Yeah,
I just like appreciate you guys so much for making climbing happen in this area because I think it's like brought so much to Lincoln and now Omaha. So thank you guys for all that.
absolutely. Thank you for being a part of that as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're excited to see what's next for the future of of MW climbing, of ourselves going through cycling and climbing journeys ourselves as well. But yeah, I mean, you always think, oh, Nebraska's so flat, and you'll never say that ever again if you're a gravel cyclist and you go out
Right?
and ride gravel. You're like, this is such a lie. This is, uh, so, but it's fun. It really is fun. So there are a lot of opportunities, and I hope that more people will become more aware of these types of things too, and get engaged in it and find joy in these experiences as we have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, before we wrapped up, one thing I wanted to ask you about is like, what ways have you seen, climbing especially improve like mental health?
I mean, since it's such a personal experience, it has allowed me to personally, like I said, forget about all the stresses. Like when you're on the wall,
Mhm.
you're really just focused on getting to the next hold, which there's a lot of positive reinforcement that happens during this because not only can you feel that rewarding effect by like topping a climb, getting to the very top, but like making a next move. So finding progress in like
Mhm.
a move or two, that you couldn't get before. And you can kind of see that growth. And so climbing, you can get that instant like feedback and satisfaction of like, wow, I'm
Yeah.
getting better. Wow, like I can do this. And so that aspect is really awesome about climbing. And then, like, of course, the community. I mean, I think every single climbing gym in the country and the world will say something about like why they like climbing is because of the community. Because the community is really
Yeah.
nothing like anything else. People are supportive. People will cheer you on. You will cheer other people on. You may never see them again,
Mhm.
but it is
Yes.
such a welcoming, positive experience that you leave feeling very refreshed. And also, I feel like, oh, there's like, a newfound sense of like, I don't know, like hope for humanity, or whenever things feel like
Oh, for
sad,
reals.
like when things feel down, and you're like, oh, I'm having a bad day, or oh man, the economy,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
just
Mhm. All the
so
things.
yeah, so you just kind of feel like, wow, there's awesome people, and they're all in my community, and I can access them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree with that. I think for me, it's been like one of the ways to build growth mindset the best actually. As just like a horrible, always recovering perfectionist, this was like one of the ways where I got to like in a very tactile way experience learning through failure, even like inoculate myself against the stigma of failure. There's just been like nothing else that I have encountered that's helped me like power through it as effectively, So I guess that's my 2 cents that I'd add to the mental health side of things there. With that, we are entering into the current favorite segment. What is your favorite thing in the moment, Wendy?
Like I kind of mentioned before, I am a hobbyist, and I like to jump between hobbies and learn so
Love
extensive.
it. Serial hobbyist, same.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I love learning new things. And so currently, I have two hobbies I alternate, and it is chess, online chess.
Ooh,
I decided
yes.
the first that was my what was it, New Year's resolution, was that I want to get off my phone more from like social media and scrolling, and get on my phone more for playing online chess because at
Heck
that
yes.
and I was terrible at it, and I'm still like average. I think right now I'm at like 52nd percentile of chess players, which I'm still very, very proud of, and I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But the other thing is crocheting, and so we had a
Ooh.
crochet night here in Omaha as one of our monthly community night building activities,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I learned how to crochet from community members,
Nice.
and I really dove into it. And I made a shirt, I made a blanket, and I have a bunch of like half started projects that I will get back to.
Yes.
But it's just so fun and relaxing and
Mhm,
cool to
mhm.
make something with your hands. You can see the
Oh,
product. And
absolutely. Yeah, I love that you've gotten to get into crocheting. That sounds so fun. It's always like extra rewarding when you find like yeah, something not screen based, something that you can create with your hands.
yeah, jack of all trades, I think is
Yes.
fantastic. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
It's the way to be. My obsession of the moment is Le Courtier Bakery, which is a another thing that's like in Lincoln and Omaha. So I've always been into their bread because my local grocery store carries it. So I've like just always been getting that, but not thinking too much about it. But recently I've actually like stopped in a couple times to get like some of their baked goods. And I was like, oh my gosh, how have I been not going here like all of the time? It's so amazing. Especially their croissants, of course. So I've been like trying out the different croissants. Obviously, they have like a bunch of baked goods I have yet to discover. So for a long time, I've decided that they have my favorite cinnamon rolls in Lincoln too. So I guess they have been on my radar. It's just like I didn't realize like how much variety they had.
They have a lot. Yeah. No, that's amazing. No, Le Corte, when we route set, sometimes that'll be in the rotation where I'll buy a bunch of baked goods or, snacks and stuff, and Le Corte is on the rotation where sometimes I'm just like, I'll go and buy a bunch of baked goods and that's our snack.
Yes.
But yeah, if you're ever in Omaha, I have some other recommendations for you. I love croissants as well, and Le Corte's in the mix.
Yeah.
And there's a few other places that I'm like, oh, so good.
Yeah, last time I was in Omaha, I got to try out Carter and Rye. That was really good.
There's a place called La Patisserie. I'm probably saying it very, very wrong. La Patisserie.
Oh, that's okay.
And it's small, but oh my gosh, yeah,
Okay.
these croissants, so good, so
Nice.
good. And so they're very close to the gym, so it's dangerous as well. Where I'll be like,
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, I'll take it.
Popeye. Yeah.
Thank you so much for talking. It was awesome getting to learn more about MW climbing. Can't wait to check out the Omaha location.
Thank you so much, Emily.
I actually did get to try out the Omaha location after our chat, and listeners, I am blown away. I love all the climbing walls, the dedicated workout room with cardio equipment, and their cafe, complete with an absolutely gorgeous mural. It's a must-see if you're in Omaha or anywhere nearby. And that's it for the mid-season finale. See you in a couple weeks for one more bonus episode at the end of June, and then we'll be taking a short break in July. Nerdlandia is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Case Buskirk. Theme song and ending credit music by Keith West. Cover art by Ellen Stubbings. Additional music from Pixabay. So, I don't know if you know, I have a twin, and we both were really into chess growing up, but I gave up pretty quickly because I think we got to the point where she was like beating me fairly regularly, so I was like, this is not for me.